Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome to another video for EVE Echoes. Over the weekend I put out a bonus video looking at the balance adjustment instructions that NetEase released. This was a surprise thing over the weekend where NetEase basically said, here is an overview of most of the things you can expect to see in April's balance update. This is one heck of a balance update that a lot of people have been concerned about, have been anticipating for a long time, so here is an overview of what to expect. It doesn't have any numbers, which is a key point to bring out first. We don't know how much things are getting buffed or nerfed, we can only speculate based on the tone of the writing that they used. Now ultimately, I put out a bonus 1 hour video on this because I was hoping that if I sat down and went through all of it, there's a lot of this, if I took my time going over this and explaining everything, people would understand kind of why those changes are happening. Unfortunately, it seems that since I put that video out on Saturday evening, I've spent a lot of time on Discord yesterday and the YouTube comment section and on Reddit, and it seems that there's a lot of people who are deeply misunderstanding some parts of this. I've seen people crying that the Cinnaball is going to be useless after this patch, the Apocalypse Striker has had major nerfs, all of this kind of thing, and I just don't see where all of this actually is in the notes. Like, are these people reading the same notes as I am? So I thought it'd be beneficial to go back through some of these adjustments in very specific detail and talk about what the changes actually mean. I didn't want to do that in the actual video because it would turn what is already an hour-long patch notes into probably 2 or 3 hours. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the passive modules, which is to say shield extenders, armor plates, capacitor batteries, and weapon upgrade modules, or WUMs as I like to call them for short in text. Anyway, if you do enjoy this video, please, a like would be really helpful. It helps the YouTube algorithm out so much. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of this in the comment section down below, and if you do want to go the extra mile to help support this channel and keep me doing what I'm doing, there is a Patreon page linked below as well in the description that you can head to and pledge as little as £1 a month to keep me making content. This does help me amazingly. YouTube is my only job. It's the only way I have money coming in. It puts food on the table, keeps electricity on the meter, all of that jazz. Anyway, without further ado then, let's scroll down to the shield extenders, the armor plates, and all of this kind of thing down here. I think it's number 8. There we are. Fitting 8 heat sinks. This was the sort of comment that they put at the top of this, and the first thing I saw on Reddit was people going, do people really do that? Fill their low slots with just heat sinks? Yes. Yes, they do. I have seen plenty of kills on things like an Apocalypse Striker where all of its low slots are nothing but heat sinks, because basically you've got someone running encounters and storylines who essentially just wants to be able to get the maximum amount of DPS to clear that as quickly as possible and increase the amount of ISK they're going to be earning. The downside of this, obviously, is that you've got no tanking modules whatsoever, which makes you a literal glass cannon, or a glass laser in this case. This is where some of the complaints fall, like, you know, oh, it's so unfair that people are jumping me in anomalies now, I can't cope with this. Of course you can't, because your fit is absolutely atrocious. You haven't planned for it at all. I've said this so many times in the past when people have talked about scanning and low-sec pirates and things like that. Oh, it's so unfair that they can jump in. It's like, really? You can't handle 1 or 2 ships jumping in on you. Like, there are so many. Anyway, I'm not going to go back down that route. The simple point is, yes, people were doing this. And of course, beyond this as well, we've had things like people using triple extenders, because activating an extender, waiting for it to then finish, then activating a second extender, then activating your third one, by which point the first one's off cooldown, and you can just keep doing those, actually worked out as better active shield tanking than using a shield booster. And people have asked me, Benzie, why haven't you done a video on that? Because I was expecting it to be nerfed, and lo and behold, it's getting that. Sort of. And this is the point. People are crying big nerfs on this, but I don't actually see it as a nerf. We don't have the numbers, so a lot of this is theoretical, based on design intent, and based on the tone of the writing. Now, I'm also going to pull up some pictures and images that actually help me explain this. So first of all, what is the design concept of these particular modules? It's to strengthen itself, can be activated in exchange for stronger effects when needed, similar to overheating in EVE Online, which is a topic I'm not going to cover in this video. However, due to bonus of skills and the strong bonus range of active effects, the active opening of low slot modules has become a common method, which goes against our design concept and also increases the burden of Capsuleer's operation. Basically, the concept here is that you're not supposed to use triple extenders as a way of having a bigger shield boost than a shield booster. It's as simple as that. Same with the heat sinks and things like that. They were just doing a little bit too much in one regard and not enough in another. So Let's have a look first of all at how one of these actually works. I've got a C-type gyro stabilizer. This is the weapon upgrade module for cannons. Obviously the same goes for a ballistic control unit, or a heatsink, or a magnetic field stabilizer. When you have one of these fitted, you have a damage bonus applied to your ship standardly, 5% in this case, a activation time adjustment of minus 4.5% in this case, which means that by fitting a gyro stabilizer, my cannons do 5% more damage and activate 4.5% faster. Hopefully that makes sense. That's just having it fitted. If you fit a gyro stabilizer to a ship, you will see that your cold DPS increases if you're using cannons. Same with the heatsink for lasers, the magnetic field stabilizer for railguns, and the ballistic control unit for missiles. Obviously the drone damage amplifier was an exclusion to this, but they're changing that as well. Basically, these are what we call cold bonuses. When you have it fitted to a ship, it just applies this bonus. So let's jump back across to the notes now. Enhanced the passive damage bonus, removed additional damage bonus on active activation. So if we jump back to this, that damage bonus there, the cold one, is going to increase, but this one is going away. Now, I don't think this is going to be like, oh, it's just like this goes up to 6% and this drops off completely. I do think this would get a somewhat considerable increase in order to help balance that out. So we're looking at like a 5% damage bonus being increased on the passive, but that damage bonus when activated is going away. Let's jump back to the notes. Enhanced passive cooldown bonus, reduced additional cooldown bonus on active activation. So again, down here, this passive cooldown is going to increase. That might go up to 6% or 7%, but this activation time adjustment of 400% is probably going to drop to 200 or 300%. The basic premise here is now that when you are not actively using this, you are going to have more DPS. Your cold DPS on any ship where you have weapon upgrade modules fitted is going to increase. And if you activate it, it's just less of an increase. As an idea, if imagine you currently have 100 DPS cold, and then you activate to get 140 DPS, here I'm theorizing this is going to be something like you get 120 DPS cold, but it goes up to 135 when heated. You're still going to get a nice big boost when things are heated, but it's not going to be as big as it is now, but your passive, your cold DPS is going to be stronger. We also have an increased cooldown time, so if we go back, that 20-second activation is how long it lasts, then it's 60 seconds before it comes back online. This is going to be increased so you can use it less frequently. So you're getting a big boost, well, you're getting a boost to your cold DPS, the boost to your hot DPS has been reduced, and it's going to be fewer times that you can activate these in a single encounter. It does also mention that they've added passive effects to the drone DPS enhanced modules. That's the drone damage amplifier, means that when you fit a drone damage amplifier, it will now actually give you drone damage as cold DPS as well, whereas it wasn't before. Those were only working on active. Hopefully that makes sense that I've explained it that way. Your cold DPS is going to increase, your heated DPS might end up actually being the same as it currently is because you've got a smaller boost perhaps, but it's a smaller boost on a larger baseline. Anyway, let's move on then and have a look at augmented armor plates, batteries, and shield extenders. These all follow the same rules. Temporary shields, temporary armor, and temporary capacitors are now too powerful as a temporary emergency option. I mentioned that Zyklon had mentioned this in his Rupture video when he was talking to me about the Rupture, basically saying that you don't go after certain ships if you know they've got a capacitor battery, because you'll just never be able to neutralize them. That's kind of the point we're getting at here. You were able to just stack these modules and get way too much out of them. The shield extender is the key example in armor plates. People who were using triple armor plates or triple shield extenders instead of using a booster, and were just tapping on each of those one after the other, so getting 20 seconds of shield extender, sorry, then just as that's about to drop off, activating your next shield extender, then the second that drops off, activating the third shield extender, at which point the first shield extender then is coming off cooldown, so you never have a period where your enemy isn't attacking extended shield. They're never actually hitting your real shield. That's obviously a problem. That's basically a shield booster, but backwards, and it's not doing what these modules were intended to do. Moreover, the additional effects are added according to the proportion, and the effects brought about by ships of different tonnage and different characteristics are quite different. This kind of goes with using a battery on an Amarr battleship. A battery on an Amarr battleship does a lot more than a battery on, say, a Minmatar one would, because it has a percentage boost to the capacitor. So let's have a look at these. If we now come back into here and I move across, and we're going to have a look at batteries first of all. What a battery does by standard. You can see there is a capacitor increase here of 683 gigajoules. This is a medium C-type capacitor battery. Just as an explanation there, when you have a battery fitted, it adds 683 gigajoules to your ship's capacitor. You have a bigger capacitor just for having this fitted. That's the passive bonus, the cold capacitor increase. So you can use these to try and aim towards capacitor stability. Then we have this additional capacitor upon activation, and you'll see that after 60 seconds of cooldown, you can activate this. It'll last for 25 seconds or until depleted, and then it goes on a 60-second cooldown again, 1093 gigajoules. And they're saying this is too much. This is not enough. This is too much. So they're going to increase this number, which means that having a medium capacitor battery or a small or even a large capacitor battery fitted to a ship is going to increase your capacitor stability just naturally by having it fitted. But the additional capacitor upon activation is going to be smaller. That means your cold capacitor is going to be closer to stable, but you're not going to get quite as big a boost when you actually activate it. And if we go across to shields, this is where we start to get the slightly more confusing part here. So, when you have a shield extender fitted, again, you can see it increases the shield by 2,358, it gives you a signature radius increase of 7 meters, and a 2,358 additional shields upon activation. You can just activate it straight up and down here. Ultimately, this again is going to be changed. This passive shield increase is going to be bigger. The additional shields upon activation is going to be smaller, and there's going to be a longer time for the reactivation delay, I believe. Let me just double check that here. So they have enhanced the fixed value of armor hit point, shield hit point bonus, and removed the percentage bonus, reducing the overall effect, and increased the cooldown time. Now, it doesn't really show it all here, but there is a percentage increase as well that is on your ship. Basically, when you put a shield extender on a different ship, if the ship itself has bigger shields, the shield extender does more. This is partly due to the skills that you have through shield tanking as well, obviously increasing your shields, but it does make this compounded effect of a shield extender just doing entirely more than it's supposed to. So what you are looking at here is enhanced the passive armor hit point of shield and hit point bonus. Armor and hit point bonus, sorry. So again, looking at this, that passive is going to go up, that additional shield upon activation is going to go down. It's worth noting that even under a current situation, unless you're using the triple extenders basically, you are in a situation where your passive modules are going to be passive for longer than they are active. Again, if we were to have a look at the battery, you see there it's got an activation time of 25 seconds and a reactivation delay of 60 seconds. That means it is going to be passive for even if you activate it every time immediately off cooldown, it is active for 25 seconds, then off for 60 seconds. That means you're getting active for 25, passive for 60. So every 1 minute 25 seconds, well, most of that is going to be passive, isn't it? Same here, we've got 25 seconds activation time, 60 seconds reactivation delay, so most of the time that the extender is on your ship, it is in passive mode, not in active, and the same still true when we go up to the gyro stabilizers and other weapon upgrade modules, 20 seconds of active time, 60 seconds of passive time. This means this is technically a buff across the board as long as you are using these properly. Arguably, you've got 60 seconds of this bit is going to be bigger. You're going to be getting more DPS over that 60 seconds than you currently have. This 20 seconds, even if it is a slight nerf, for example, as I said, if you have 100 cold DPS, that's during the 60 seconds. And under current time, when you activate this, that 20 seconds, you jump up to 140 DPS. So you're getting plus 40 DPS for 20 seconds. That's it. If we imagine, as I said, the change is now that when you're on passive, it's 120 DPS cold, and then it goes up to 135 on active, you're now getting 120 DPS for 60 seconds and 135 for those 20. So even though that is slightly reduced, you're not at 140, you're only at 135, this has had big buffs instead. That is an overall buff. Yes, your activated might be lower than it was before, but your cold is going to be larger, and your modules are more often in passive mode than they are in active mode. Hopefully that makes sense here. This is not a nerf. No matter what happens, it is always going to be a buff of sorts. Just by the simple dint that your modules are going to be on passive more than they are on active, and your active is getting bigger. Yes, okay, they could theoretically get rid of the passive almost completely, and as long as the get rid of the active almost completely, and as long as the passive is bigger, that is going to be overall a net gain for most players, and that's why I sort of go against this whole the sky is falling here. Hopefully that makes sense. I know there's a lot of sort of theoretical here. Again, if you kind of want to break my math apart and go, oh, well, that doesn't make sense, the simple part is we can't really math. I can only talk theoretical because we don't have numbered patch notes yet. Hopefully those will be arriving either this week or next weekend, because obviously the 9th is going to be when this all goes into a test server up here. We have planned to open a test server on April 9th. Please note that that is plan 2. Things do change. Hopefully it will be on April 9th, but please do not crucify the developers if they have to push that back for one reason or another. They plan to open it on April 9th. If you're not used to this, if you're not familiar with this and want to know what the test server basically is about, what it tends to do is takes a snapshot of your account, usually the day or two before it opens. Then when you go onto the test server, you have everything that you had when the game took a snapshot of your account. But obviously anything that happens on the test server stays on the test server. So if you undocked every single one of your ships on the test server, flew them into a pirate anomaly and blew them up, when you come off the test server back onto the live server, they will still be there. Hopefully that makes sense. But again, please stop crying that the sky is falling. At the very least, we need to wait and see until we've got the actual numbers for this. But just by basic logic, this particular one is going to be a buff more than it is a nerf. Yes, your theoretical maximum DPS might be lower, but your overall damage done in a fight is going to be larger, as long as it's more than one activation time. So as long as you're in a fight for longer than the 20 seconds of gyro stabilizer time you would get, then this is going to be a buff, just logically using basic math. Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Let me know what else in this confused you. I can do a video on that as well, talking about what those changes actually mean and how that is going to sort of play out, we hope. Another big one is the anti-drone pulse bomb and the restrictions on the number of encounters and combat commendations. I'll probably do videos on those, so let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!